Thousand Island dressing. It commonly gets confused with, substituted for, and mislabeled with Russian dressing, but they are in fact different sauces, and the Thousand Islands are a real place in the St. Lawrence River, the river that connects the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean. There are several origin stories coming from the Thousand Islands, and I'm not here to confirm or deny any of them. I'm just here to make a dressing. This recipe comes from a lady on All Recipes who claims to be a Thousand Islander and has some pretty good reviews. Your Thousand Island recipe may vary. This is just the one I like. I'm going to start by chopping what needs to be chopped, which is going to be around a big spoon of red pepper and black olives. I have Kalamata in my fridge, so that's what I'm going to use. It's okay to make substitutions based on circumstance. I'm also going to chop a whole hard-boiled egg. I like my yolks a little bit loose, but it doesn't have to be that way. If you're interested in my method of steaming eggs, I'll leave that right up here. I'm also going to add a big spoon and a half of sweet relish. Now this is homemade, so that's why it's white. Use store-bought if you want. For wet ingredients, I want half a big spoon each of white vinegar and Worcestershire sauce. And this recipe calls for a quarter little spoon of white sugar, but I like honey. And we top that off with half a cup or around 120 milliliters of our homemade mayonnaise from a couple weeks ago. I also want just a dash of clove, which in the past I've done by letting the whole clove rest in the sauce for a day before I fish it out. But for whatever reason, I felt compelled to try and microplane it in there, which didn't really work the way I wanted it to. Give that a mix, and you can see that it is not salmon in color. That's okay, it is going to pick up a little bit of color from that red pepper, but that's it. That bright orange sauce that you buy in supermarkets, that's full of dye. I'm going to put this in a mason jar in the fridge for at least a day. During this process, it's very important that your cat watches your every move for quality control purposes. Once Dr. Malcolm is satisfied with my technique, I can move on to our Russian dressing. Now for this, I'm going to make an additional sauce that I'm going to use in my Russian dressing. You can use ketchup if you want, and there are commercial brands of chili sauce available. But I, number one, prefer chili sauce, and number two, don't want to buy a whole bottle. So I am going to make a small enough amount that I can use and doesn't stand a chance of going bad in my fridge. That's going to be half a cup of tomato sauce sweetened with a big spoon of brown sugar. I don't have brown sugar, and if you want to know how to make it, I'll leave a card right up here. Right now, I'm combining these flavors separately, but the point is that they both get in there. Now I want a big spoon of white vinegar, half a little spoon of chili powder with a quarter little spoon each of garlic, onion, and allspice. My allspice is whole, so I'm going to attempt to microplane it, remember my failure in the cave, and then grab a better tool for the job, my mortar and pestle. Mix it up, and you're going to use 2 big spoons of your chili sauce or ketchup to make your Russian dressing. And then we're going to mince about half a big spoon of shallot. I'm just going to use this whole thing, which actually ended up working out perfectly. Half a big spoon of prepared horseradish, a little spoon of hot sauce, half as much Worcestershire, an 1/8 little spoon of smoked paprika, and a quarter mustard. A pinch of salt, and we top it off with our remaining half cup of mayonnaise. Mix that up. This time the cats trust my judgment. Container it, label it, and rest it in the same fridge for the same time frame. These have been resting for, it's been 3 days now. It's been kind of a busy week, but they're going to be delicious. Flavors marry over time. That's right where you want to be. And I'm just going to try these over, not really a wedge salad because this is an iceberg lettuce, but over a half a romaine. This Russian dressing was so heavy on the lettuce that it actually fell over, but that's okay. It's still going to be delicious. Just a housekeeping thing, the Russian dressing was a little bit more loose than I wanted it to be, so I did thicken it up with about a quarter cup of sour cream. Let's try this Thousand Island first, and you can see that it's not quite as colorful as the Russian dressing, but it did get a little bit of color from that red pepper. It is a little bit It very light pink in color after resting for a couple of days. So nothing like the store-bought. It's zesty, has a little bit of saltiness from that olive brine, little bit sweet. It's just really, all around hits on all the notes. Acid, salt, sweet, tangy. This is gonna be a little spicy though. Russian dressing is actually, we can trace the origins back. We know that it comes from New Hampshire, not Russia. And it's called Russian dressing because they think that the original recipe had caviar in it. It is rich and bold. This is the sauce that comes on a reuben. Another really kind of good anecdote that I can think of to why this might be called Russian dressing, which is not a historical fact at all. I once knew this Russian man that I worked with, and I asked him once if he needed a hug, and he said, "I would only hug you to show you how strong I am." That's what I think of this dressing. If you missed my other mayonnaise-based sauces, I'm gonna leave that right here. I make some ranch and blue cheese. I'll leave the actual mayonnaise that I made for both of these sauces right here over the next couple of episodes. I'm gonna make some sandwiches using both of these sauces.